Hi, welcome to Exploring Illusion of Free Will. My name is George Ortega. I'm here with my co-host Mike. Mike, good to have you again.
Good to be here.
Okay, and today, you know, our special guest, Nick. What is?
You forgot me. If I had a free will,
our special guest, Nick, who's only able to come here from Manhattan every 3 months or so. So we're very glad to have him, and he's going to help us discuss this very important topic. This is episode number 163, Free Will and Becoming Mega Famous. Okay, just very briefly, I'll explain what this show's about, then we'll go into a definition of free will, refute it a little, and describe the importance of this show. But this whole episode is going to be about the importance of the topic and all. So basically, free will and becoming mega famous, the idea behind this is there's an eminent philosopher, John Searle, okay? He's in this encyclopedia of philosophers that are born after 1900. He's ranked number 13 in terms of how many times he's been cited. So he's not just a philosopher. And he happens to believe in free will, so he's not biased. It's not like it's a self-serving statement he said. So anyway, this woman philosopher, Sue Blackmore from Great Britain, was doing a book on consciousness back in 2005, interviewed Searle, asked him essentially, what would it mean for our world to acknowledge that free will is an illusion? And John Searle said it would be a, quote, a bigger revolution in our thinking than Einstein or Copernicus or Newton or Galileo or Darwin. It would alter our whole conception of our relation to the universe. That's how big this is, all right? So the theme of this show is we've been doing this show for 3 years, whatever, 3.5 years. We've been doing the meetups. You've been doing your show in Manhattan for 2.5 years and others. We're bringing it up, into the mainstream from academia where it's languished, for hundreds of years. So we've taken that step. And I don't know if you can see these magazine covers, but, basically over the last couple of years or so, it's been on the cover of 2 science magazines, major, first time ever. But the next step has to be somebody who is well connected, wants historical mega fame, because this is what this is about. We need somebody who really can do that, to take it to the next level by creating, let's say, a documentary, a theatrical release, major motion picture documentary that describes this, or by a television show, some manner to just take this idea and then just amplify it big time to the entire world. Okay, that's the theme of this show. So, all right. So before we get into this, as we do it with every show, we're going to first define what people mean when they say they have free will, why such a prospect is not possible, and why this whole topic is so important. Okay, Nick, start us off.
Keeping it simple, the free will means you could have done otherwise.
Okay. And all right, so explain why you couldn't have done otherwise.
We're all conditioned. Everything I'm saying is a conditioned response going towards pleasure and away from pain. Everything Mike's about to say is a conditioned response. Everything George is saying based on our personal history.
Okay, all right.
That's why we couldn't have done otherwise. And I know the universe would have to, I would have to have a different consciousness and be a different person every step, cause and effect, to say something different than what I'm saying right now. I would have to be a different person.
I hear you. Okay, Mike.
Right, so the illusion of free will is basically the belief that your choices and actions are made completely free of any external agents. That's from the dictionary. But of course, our nature, our conditioning, our biology, our psychology, just everything goes against that.
Excellent. All right, and I'm going to give a third definition. Well, actually very similar to yours, Mike. Yeah, basically that we would have a free will if we could decide free of anything that's not in our control. Agency says it's kind of it could be the laws of nature, it could be our genetics, it could be our environment, anything. And so a different description or explanation of why we don't have free will is that consider the universe, cause and effect, causality, this law of cause and effect. The state of the universe of the Big Bang was the only thing that could have caused the state of the universe of the next moment. And that second moment of the universe caused the state of the universe of the third moment. And on, caused by, through this chain of cause and effect to the present moment. And so the point is so that if the universe is evolving state by state, moment by moment in this causal manner initiated by the Big Bang, nothing within the universe can escape that universal causality. In other words, we can't make a decision that's outside of the universe, so our decisions are all guided by this causality. Okay, so like that, that explains, I mean, my God, free will is completely impossible. You got to wonder why people, how the universe doesn't allow people to get this already. So, all right, so we talked about why it's important, right, with the Searle thing, I think, yeah.
It's the biggest thing ever.
All right, so...
what could be bigger? Can you think of anything bigger than telling the world there's no free will?
I can.
Name one.
If, let's say, somebody came up with, a happiness pill, something this pill...
The person inventing it would have to know it wasn't his free will inventing it, though.
No, but that's the guy creates a happiness pill. You take it in the morning, it's like a vitamin B, right? But this is vitamin H. Okay, everybody blisses out through the entire day. I think that'd be bigger. Because, you know why? Because, why are we doing this show? Because we understand, it's our expectation that as we overcome the illusion of free will, we're going to be happy.
You and I and Mike, we're all doing this to become more pleasurable in our own lives. We're going
and for the world.
So if we just took a pill, we wouldn't have to do the show. Yeah, who needs it, right?
Right.
Just take the pill. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So guys, all right. I got this outline for the show, but I'm not sure, about it. Whatever.
I put mine away. I don't know.
That's all right. How do we, convince somebody who's got, let's say, connections in the movie industry, who's got connections with people who are going to finance this project, that if they do something like this, according to this John Searle quote, they'll be doing the greatest scientific discovery ever. They'll be responsible for, because in other words, whoever does this, and we're part of this also, because we're we're on the bottom. On the bottom floor of this, this enterprise is just starting and all, because we're creating it. But, for example, with Freud, he wasn't the first person to discover the unconscious, but he was the first person to popularize it. So this person would be the first person to just make the world know. So how do we do this?
Well, first of all, if you're watching MNN, I know you're also in Westchester, but Manhattan has the big population. We have to make an entertaining show. Whoever's watching this show, it's a monkey see, monkey do world. So you see our show, maybe you start debating your other friends, get more people involved, pass the knowledge along that there's guys on TV debating, or we're actually saying there's no free will, but we'd like to have a debate show. And then think about the ratings and the money that will come. If it's on CNN, free will, ? And from that, a movie should be made. But it's, first going to entertain the people, get them thinking. People love relatable topics. I know there's tons of shows about a family in the suburb with kids and they get into all kinds of situations. There's nothing more relatable than free will versus no. I think it should be a free will versus no free will debate show, and let the free will representatives show up, debate us, and it'll be very entertaining. And then ratings, then money, then advertising, and then a movie. When the cat comes out of the bag finally, you can't go in reverse. In other words, once we get this free will, no free will debate out, it's going to happen for a very long time. It'll be great theater to watch.
Okay, Mike?
In my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know how relatable it is, to the average person. I think there's definitely an audience for it out there.
It affects everything you do. How can it not be relatable?
Because you have to be able to abstractly conceptualize it.
No, but we're going to popularize it for the masses. Try to make it you don't have free will, to act otherwise. Keep it as simple as possible. Stay away from philosophical terms that people do. I agree with what you're saying, but don't have an intellectual thing with Deepak Chopra and Dan Dennett going back and forth with compatibilism, quantum mechanics, and Heisenberg. Keep it simple so that people can get it. Free will versus no free will debate show.
Then in that case, wouldn't you say that there are a lot of films already that sort of outline a cause and effect?
No. I want a movie called No Free Will. How much more simple can it get?
Because that's a very abstract concept. And
do you see what Mike's saying?
No, explain. Go ahead.
Wait, he's saying we want this to be the biggest thing ever. You want to popularize it. He's saying it's abstract. The regular people won't get it.
Well, because the illusion of free will is a very powerful one. Right?
I just want to tell the world, what if it's not an illusion? It's so obvious that it's not even. It's so obvious it's not an illusion. An illusion is like what a magician does at a magic show and tries to trick you. There's nothing tricky about cause and effect. Nothing's trying to trick me. It's not only obvious, it's super obvious. There's no free will. What's the problem here?
Well, hear me out. I think the average moviegoer, they're going to see a character going through, a series of trials and tribulations. They make a certain, they make choices. We observe them making actions, or at least behaving. They appear to have free will to the average person. But the idea that they don't is still very much more abstract realization. Like, you can see people being affected by their environment, but that's not necessarily enough to make people fully understand everything.
George has proposed vignettes where you have a relationship with a guy and a girl breaking up, and the movie director can clearly say, this is with the free will model, and then let's do it with the no free will model and show it much more compassionate and kind. I don't see what's so abstract about that. Make it very simple. This movie's called No Free Will, How Your Life Will Be Better. And just show what, I mean, that's what you, that was his example of how would you make the movie?
Well,
what would the movie be about?
Yeah, it is.
It shouldn't be abstract. I agree with Mike.
And it is complicated for people. It shouldn't be complicated. You know, it's as clear as 2 + 2 = 4.
To us.
But for whatever reason, it is complicated. So for that reason, I think that a major movie, as opposed to starting with a debate show, because the debate show might just confuse people more. In other words, because because you have people. It's like people saying like, would we have a debate show about like creationism versus evolution? I mean, well, I don't know.
but I want to know what the movie. How would you make the movie sellable?
No, all right. The way we do that,
non-abstract. Because I agree with Mike.
We would start out. It'd be exactly the opposite as how Sam Harris started his book. Sam Harris starts the book with some horrific crime, and we're expected to excuse the killers because they don't have free will. That's not what people want. People need to kind of these vignettes. We gotta make them understand that their lives are going to be better. That we're right with the free will thing is I, of my free will, did something, whatever, and it's up to me and all, big deal. We'd be saying something we're manifesting the will of the universe, the will of God. We got to make it grand.
So what would you name the movie?
God's Will. You know why? Because 80% of Americans are religious.
But how's anyone going to know that's a movie about refuting free will?
God's will.
Everything is God's will. Here's proof.
It's interesting because you're using the word God, yet
That's
we'd
confusing.
be refuting the Catholic doctrine of
yes,
free will. So that would be that would take some nerve. Exactly,
because in other words, free will is a religious concept. There's a bit of it in philosophy that predated the religious thing, but it was essentially St. Augustine. Augustine of Hippo, 380 A.D. He's trying to figure out why there's evil in the world. He can't blame God because God's supposed to be all good, so he blames us. It doesn't make sense. So so the idea of if we call it something of God's will, and you're right. I think with something like this, if the movie is about explaining to the entire world absolutely nothing is up to anyone, I would hope that word of mouth, people will say, you've got to see this movie, and then the outcome is yeah, all right, so we're not manifesting our will, we're manifesting the will of God, and I think that maybe ennobles us. That brings us from just being insignificant.
But we have to show the people how your life is better and more pleasurable without free will.
Absolutely.
That's how you'll sell it. Obviously, actions always still have consequences, so you can't just go do whatever you want, but you'll be kinder, gentler, more compassion. What else? What are the other? Less homicide is my theory, less suicide, less self-hatred, less other hatred, less violence.
All right. Okay. Absolutely. So we're presenting a movie that's going to appeal to their personal desires and all, to live a happier life, But in terms of whoever produces this, they're going to want to, I guess, make a lot of money from it, right? What do we say to convince them that they'll make more money than they imagine with this?
Well,
it still has to be entertaining.
Yes,
okay.
And easy for the regular people to get.
They should probably get a well-known actor.
You're against all this Deepak Chopra, Dan Dennett verbiage of words that most regular people can't understand. You don't want compatibilism, incompatibilism, whatever Dan Dennett, these crazy...
Deepak Chopra does try to make it more accessible than Dennett, though.
With the quantum mechanics angle, they really try to confuse you.
There's an audience for that, but I don't know about mainstream.
No.
All right, I'm thinking the movie. Remember the movie What the Bleep Do We Know?
Mm-hmm.
All right, that grossed $15 million in the box office, and that that confused a lot of stuff. That said about quantum mechanics stuff that it doesn't say and all. So I'm guessing a movie like this would easily gross 100 to 200 million. So that would translate to what, 50 million for the person who creates it, whatever, the producers?
If it's marketed towards the public and not the intellectual, yes. But this is a intellectual topic. That's what I like your ideas with the vignettes where you do a scene with the free will paradigm being much worse, and then you reverse and do the scene again without free will, and it's much kinder.
Or
that
it's
people
like
can see how it's better.
Or a character lives their life with the belief in free will, then like somewhere in the middle of the film they have some big realization that it's not going to sustain happiness, and then they change, and then towards the end of the film.
I was hoping you rewind the second half, you rewind the movie and start the movie again with no free will, and everything turns out better.
If you're going to chronologically toss things around, then yeah, maybe it could work like one of those Chris Nolan films where they change time around, like Memento. You know that?
No. That's a perfect example.
It actually
Based
runs
on my
backwards.
Personal history, my conditioning, I don't know what you're talking about. See, you just proved there's no free will.
Yeah, it's a film that starts at the end, and then
it wasn't in my genetic. It wasn't in my nature and nurture to know what you're talking about.
All right, so another thing
But I have one question. Do you think this topic is still relatively taboo? If you're at a cocktail party with friends and you're talking about, gay marriage, vibrators, downloading porn, and then you refute free will, it's kind of still not allowed. I mean, everything else is allowed. The things I just mentioned.
Is Scientific American Mind, New Scientist came out with cover stories between 2010 and 2012. About 36 major magazines and newspapers came out with often first ever refutations of free will. It's out there, but people are in denial. People are in shock. People don't want to talk about it, just like they don't want to talk about climate change and stuff.
Right.
Because, it threatens.
But I see erectile dysfunction ads on primetime TV during the Yankee game at 10 o'clock. But yet they don't have anything about no free will. It doesn't make any sense.
But there's nothing
why are we more taboo than that?
There's nothing abstract about erectile dysfunction.
So you're saying the problem is it's abstract?
Yeah. That it's very conceptual. You have to have a lot of
intelligence.
That type of intelligence.
See, Mike makes a good point. Maybe it's too abstract.
All right. Well,
how do we make it more concrete?
Let's focus this movie on. All right. How do we make it concrete? Let's go with this climate change angle again. In other words, some people might say to themselves, "Fine, this movie tells us we don't have free will. Big deal. Doesn't matter. It might make our lives a little better, whatever." But if we can get, let's say, a lot of politicians, a lot of scientists are very deeply concerned with the state of the world, the state of our future, right? They have no idea how to convince this public that climate change is happening. So all of a sudden somebody, one of these, scientists hooks up with a movie producer, they get together, they write a script for this movie that explains to people, listen, if we're ever going to solve this climate crisis, we better start fast, and in order to start fast, we have to overcome this illusion of free will first, that's causing the climate denial. I mean, we just did an episode on this, the last episode. So how does that angle play out?
I like the climate change angle because you're connecting an abstract concept to something that people can actually touch and feel more materially, like the climate. I also want to connect overcoming the illusion of free will and lessening homicide and suicide and depression. Because without free will, you can still be depressed, but you won't be depressed that you're depressed. You can still be angry, but you won't be angry that you're angry. You can still be upset, but you won't be upset that you're upset. So the secondary emotion will go away, and we'll put all the psychiatrists and psychologists immediately out of business because they don't teach it this way. But getting rid of the illusion of free will, or getting to the no free will place, should make people happier, more content, more satisfied almost instantly. Not to mention vindicated and forgiving for all the silly and stupid mistakes you've made.
Okay,
it's like an instant panacea for everything. Well, not
Mike, how's that sound?
Yeah, as long as they found a way to make it entertaining. I mean, I feel because that's what most mainstream audiences are there for. They're not there to learn philosophy. That's why I suggested a debate show. People arguing, yelling, interrupting, like I'm doing. Yeah, though I doubt, people who watch those films are going to watch the debates.
You don't think debates would be entertaining?
Well, my fear about debates is let's say you debate climate change. You have two scientists up there. Nobody knows this stuff. We don't know climate change, so they're debating. They're confusing the issue. I'm afraid the Deepak Chopra is these vibrations and it's nonsense stuff that he talks about. It'll just confuse people more. So
you think a no free will debate would be confusing?
I think yes. It's like would we ever like have a debate about whether 2 + 2 = 4? I don't think so. Because like somebody's going to say no. Under certain math, it actually equals 7.
Just say in the debate, everything you're saying is a conditioned response. Will you agree to that? The guy on the free will side.
Yeah. I guess the biggest refutation of that would be most people would just be like, well, so what? Like, how does that affect, my personality, my actions?
If the free will belief is harmful and toxic, it's killing people. In my opinion, it caused Elliot Rodger, we did a show on that, to go nuts and attribute, people hurting him. And he was a product of an environment. He shot and killed all these people. He hated everybody. So how's it going to make it better? Overcoming the toxic belief in free will is going to make for a better world. Less homicide, less suicide, and George keeps saying better for the climate.
Yeah, I think there's a certain population who's totally like on the fence, ready to go, ready to come on board, especially, the atheist, agnostic community, scientific community. But most people, I don't think, are really going to think it has that much significance to their lives.
Okay, say you're right. Say it has no significance and everything is exactly the same and we're just spinning our wheels. The truth is more meaningful. Like George says, we're only here for 80 to 90 years. Let's get this right. I mean, let's own up to the fact that we have this free will thing all wrong. So even if it doesn't make any difference at all, the truth is very meaningful, and we got to get it out there and make a movie. We owe it to ourselves as a species who are conscious and aware of what our own true nature really is, to tell the people this is who we are in relation to the universe.
I agree, but
so even if it doesn't make any effing difference, let's get the truth. That's meaningful.
I totally agree. Though I feel like the entertainment industry and news industry is driven much more by the profit motive and the entertainment motive than anything about truth.
I agree, Mike. So, like, in other words, it has to be entertaining. So, like, in other words, like, a lot of this movie can be comedy. In other words, like, you ask a series of persons, do you believe...
banana caused you to slip.
No, just like 2 questions for it. Do you believe everything has a cause, right? 3 questions. Then, like, you ask them, like, do you believe you have free will? Yes. Okay, then, like, what caused you to believe you have free will, right?
No, give me one decision that you believe is freely will.
Right.
Let them answer.
Right, and they'll answer, and then you ask them, did that have a cause? And they'll say yes. In other words, you'll get these people like on tape,
yes,
just
like
coming to the realization that if they believe everything has a cause, then free will is completely impossible. That's one
So
scenario.
like an interview with a regular person entrapping them into their own nonsense. That could be funny.
It would make a cool documentary.
Yes,
yeah, but I don't know.
Or a docudrama,
with real live people?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to make it entertaining, so a comedy or a drama.
Actually, Mike, in terms of entertainment, no, in other words, we want it to appeal to people. We want people to say, yes, it's going to make my life better. So these vignettes, it would be a docudrama, right? So in other words, you have like a vignette of a couple breaking up. Under the free will thing, they're like blaming each other. They're hurling all these like whatever. So like, so then like the next thing, like the same couple, whatever, understanding that nobody has a free will. And so, like, just this comparison thing. But I think, like, somebody like Spielberg, somebody who knows how to direct and make movies, they can make this really entertaining. Just even, like, by explaining the insanity, the absurdity of, like, the universe making us believe stuff is up to us, when absolutely nothing is. I mean, the entire, like, our whole mindset, I mean, the world couldn't be more absurdly insane. And this documentary would demonstrate that. This documentary would say, we've got the very fabric of who we are as human beings completely wrong. There's got to be a lot of comedy in that.
Well, it would be a big risk for whoever's making it, because I think it would be the only time a mainstream producer would be making a film based on some philosophical concept for the masses.
All right, well, that's a good point, Mike. But here's the thing, like, over the last several decades, this debate has gone from philosophy to science. In other words, I mean, like, like with the neuroscience, with these experiments that demonstrate that, like, a few 200 milliseconds or 7 seconds before a person makes a decision, that decision's already been made before they're aware of it. So, like, it can be kind of like, just like that, not only does logic and reasoning and philosophy refute free will, we now have all this science.
It could be a good sci-fi film, possibly.
Well,
Like-
but see, because with sci-fi, I mean, like, what I'm afraid of that is, like, a lot of sci-fi is just by definition just not real. It's fictional, right? So in other words, we want to make something like this is reality. You know, free will belief is fictional. Free will, you know.
Right.
What's wrong with having a CNN debate show? Free will versus no free will debate show. That's got to be entertaining.
Well, I mean,
To start with. Not every week, like once a month, a special. We're on there. The representative of every church is on there. The Jewish, the clerk, the Muslim guy, the Hindu, you know, George and I, Sam Harris. And debate. That's got to be interesting.
all right, Nick, you may be onto something because, like,
And I'll be very entertaining. Hire me.
absolutely, absolutely, because, like,
I'll tell them what idiots they are.
No, yeah, because I mean, like, you know, in other words, like, if it's
Dan
a
Dennett.
debate, you know, I'd be afraid that it confuse people. But maybe I'm you know.
Yeah, but people have a tendency to get very riled up over this issue. Emotions will be flying.
Right.
And take phone calls even. Let the public get in.
And the other thing is, like, if it is a debate show, then, like, the producer will say, hey, we're giving the churches, we're giving religions, we're giving philosophers a fair chance at this, right? It's not like we're going to, like, trying to brainwash.
And the advertisers will know the market watching it will be highly, you know, maybe higher income people. So even if you don't get a high audience, you'll get a higher, you know, bracket of income. So you'll get the advertising dollars.
And just to interject, you know, I'm not against the idea of this becoming, you know, a good movie with a good fan base. There's a good audience for philosophy films. The film about Slavoj Zizek, the philosopher, has done very well. Astra Taylor, The Examined Life. So there's definitely an audience for it. I'm just a little hesitant about the idea of it being a whole mainstream saga.
And we only got 30 seconds. How do you get in contact with George? If someone's watching this on M&N in Manhattan, they want to get in touch with you to make the movie.
Well, you want to know?
Causalconsciousness.com?
Over the last couple of days, I just sent out 500 emails to documentary producers.
Is your email there, causalconsciousness.com? Contact
well,
me?
Yes, absolutely.
So email George at causalconsciousness.com. Tell him how we're going to make the world's greatest movie.
All right. Thanks for watching. We'll be back to explain to you better why we don't have free will, because we've been promoting for a while, why this matters, and why the world will change to the extent we get this. Thanks for watching.